What if an entire colony vanished without a single trace? No bodies, no signs of battle, no survivors to tell the story. Just one word, carved into wood. This is not a legend from a horror movie. This is not a fictional tale passed down for entertainment. This is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. For more than 400 years, historians, archaeologists, and researchers have asked the same chilling question. What really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? And more importantly, has the mystery finally been solved? Before we dive deeper into this haunting story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because the mysteries we uncover here will change the way you see history forever. The beginning of the Roanoke colony. The story begins in the late 16th century, during an era of fierce competition among European powers. England and Spain were locked in a race to dominate the New World. Spain already controlled vast territories, and England feared being left behind. To secure its future, England needed a permanent foothold in North America. In 1587, a group of 115 English settlers set sail across the Atlantic Ocean and landed on Roanoke Island, located in what is now North Carolina. This was England's second attempt at colonization in the region. But this time was different. This colony wasn't made up only of soldiers or explorers. It included entire families, men, women, and children, determined to build a new life. The colony was led by John White, an artist and experienced explorer appointed as governor. Roanoke was meant to be England's first true settlement in the New World. And something remarkable happened there. John White's daughter gave birth to a baby girl named Virginia Dare, the first English child ever born in the Americas. To the settlers, this felt like a sign of hope, a sign that their future in this strange land was secure. But that hope wouldn't last long. Trouble in the New World. Life on Roanoke Island was far more brutal than anyone had expected. The land was unfamiliar. The climate was harsh. Food supplies were dangerously low. Relations with nearby Native American tribes were unstable, sometimes friendly, sometimes hostile. The settlers depended heavily on supply ships from England, but those ships were unreliable and infrequent. Hunger spread through the colony. Fear followed. Desperation grew. Eventually, the colonists made a difficult decision. They begged Governor John White to return to England and bring back food, weapons, and reinforcements. White didn't want to leave his family behind, especially his newborn granddaughter. But he had no choice. In 1587, John White sailed back to England, believing he would return within a few months. None of them could have imagined what would come next. Why John White never returned on time. Almost as soon as John White reached England, the nation was thrown into crisis. England was on the brink of war. Spain was preparing a massive naval assault. The infamous Spanish Armada threatened to invade England itself. Every available ship was ordered to remain in English waters. No ships could leave. No exceptions. What was supposed to be a short supply mission turned into a nightmare. 1 year passed, then another, then another. 3 long years. 3 years with no food shipments, no communication, no protection. Back on Roanoke Island, the settlers were completely on their own. By the time John White was finally allowed to return, everything had changed. The shocking discovery. In 1590, John White finally returned to Roanoke Island. What he found would haunt history forever. The settlement was completely deserted. The houses were gone, but not destroyed. They had been carefully dismantled. There were no signs of violence, no burned buildings, no scattered weapons, no bodies, no graves. It was as if the colonists had calmly packed their belongings and walked away. But walked away to where? Then John White found something that froze him in place. Carved into a wooden post was a single word, CROATOAN. Nearby, carved into a tree, were just 3 letters, CRO. This was not a coincidence. Before White had left, the colonists had made a clear agreement. If they ever needed to abandon the colony, they would carve the name of their destination. If they were forced to leave due to danger, they would also carve a Maltese cross. There was no cross, which suggested something deeply unsettling. They didn't flee in panic. They left by choice. What is CROATOAN? CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, known today as Hatteras Island. It was also the home of the CROATOAN Native American tribe. Unlike other tribes in the region, the CROATOANs were known to be relatively friendly toward the English settlers. John White immediately wanted to sail there and search for survivors. He hoped, that his family was still alive. But once again, fate intervened. A violent storm struck the ships, damaging them badly. The crew, fearing for their lives, refused to continue. Against his will, John White was forced to abandon the search. He returned to England, never to see Roanoke again. The colony was officially declared lost. Theories about the disappearance. For centuries, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony has sparked terrifying theories. Were the settlers massacred by native tribes? Did they starve to death? Were they killed by the Spanish? Or did something even darker occur? Let's examine the most popular theories. Theory 1. Massacre by Native Americans. Early historians believed hostile tribes wiped out the settlers. But there's a problem. There were no signs of battle, no burned remains, no skeletons. Native oral histories also contain no stories describing a mass killing of English settlers. This theory slowly began to collapse. Theory 2. Spanish attack. Spain was England's greatest enemy at the time. Spanish forces were active in the region and had the motive to eliminate an English colony. But once again, the evidence doesn't support it. Spanish records make no mention of destroying Roanoke, and there were no signs of combat at the site. Another dead end. Theory 3. Starvation and death. Some believe the settlers simply starved. But if that were true, why dismantle homes so neatly? Why leave messages behind? This explanation doesn't fully explain the evidence. Theory 4. They moved and assimilated. This is where the mystery takes a fascinating turn. What if the settlers didn't die? What if they survived? What if they joined the Native Americans? Evidence of assimilation. Over time, strange reports began to surface. European explorers encountered Native American tribes with gray or blue eyes, fair skin, English words mixed into their language. Some tribes claimed they had white ancestors. Even more compelling, archaeologists discovered European-style tools, pottery, and weapons in native settlements near CROATOAN. These weren't trade items. They showed signs of daily use. This suggested something extraordinary. The colonists may have fully integrated into native society. The Dare Stone controversy. In the 1930s, a stone surfaced claiming to describe the fate of the colonists. Known as the Dare Stone, it suggested the settlers moved inland and later suffered attacks. Many experts believe it is a hoax, but it reignited interest in the mystery. Modern archaeological discoveries. Recent excavations on Hatteras Island revealed English pottery from the 1500s, gunflints, metal tools of European origin. DNA studies of families in the region also suggest European ancestry dating back to the late 16th century. This is the strongest evidence yet. The most likely explanation. So what really happened? The most widely accepted explanation today is this. Facing starvation, isolation, and abandonment, the Roanoke settlers chose survival. They abandoned the colony. They traveled to CROATOAN Island. They were taken in by the CROATOAN tribe. Over generations, they assimilated, married into native families, and their English identity slowly disappeared. Not a massacre, not a supernatural event, but human survival against impossible odds. Why the mystery still matters. Even with answers, Roanoke remains haunting. No written records, no survivor testimonies, no final farewell. Just one word carved into wood. CROATOAN. A reminder of how fragile early colonization was, and how easily entire chapters of history can vanish. So, was the disappearance of the Roanoke colony solved? Most likely, yes. But until undeniable proof is uncovered, the lost colony of Roanoke will remain one of history's most chilling mysteries. And maybe that's why we still talk about it, 4 centuries later. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's mysteries, Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe the Roanoke mystery is solved? Or is there more we still haven't discovered?